In this video, I want to talk about resentment. So, the reason why this came up was because I think that the resentment a lot of times comes from a trespassing over boundaries, boundaries that are existing in personal relationships, like with family or a lover. And bosses, coworkers that can be too. But what happens, I think, that makes it so problematic is that something will occur, like someone crosses a boundary, but not enough that you hate them. You kind of, oh, I hate my boss, but it's not really hate, it's really resentment. It's different. It's not as intense. But here's the thing about it that I find to be so insidious about resentment is that it's worse than hate from this perspective, in that it's like if you break your leg, it's so intense you can't pretend that you didn't break your leg. You have to deal with it. And I feel like hate, in a similar way, real true hate, it's so intense that you have to deal with it. Now you can carry it for some time and it will slowly destroy you, um, but it's so intense that its presence is unmistakable. Conversely, let's say you have a rash, you know, oh, it's a little bit uncomfortable, but I can kind of pretend it's not there. And over time, it might grow, it might get infected. And then, it just gets worse and worse and worse. But it always kind of has a way of, being able to be ignored. And because of that quality of being able to be ignored, its persistence will be there. So I think resentment is a lot like that. It has a way of prolonging itself by being in a more subtle quality than a more intense emotion. Um, but that's the thing about it as well. It's like because because it can exist for a long time, it can put a lot of really subtle cracks in a foundation of a relationship, much more than hate. Depending on what the cause is. But another analogy would be like, if you have a wall, and you just hit it with a hammer, that would be hate. To attack that wall with water would be to put to attack that wall with resentment would be to put water in it, and that water over time will just slowly dissolve it in a way that is much more difficult when it's addressed to be fixed. Um, so just to, I guess, because I am currently working through an issue of resentment with someone in my family, um, I just realize it's something that we might try to pretend that it's not a big deal because it doesn't feel intense, and yet the reaches of unaddressed resentment, um, it, it can be very, very difficult to repair that. And so, I of course recommend confronting anything that's going on, but just don't try to downplay resentment because it doesn't give you like acid reflux or heartburn. It doesn't. It's not having a very profound physical contraction doesn't mean that it's not doing other subtle, but still very insidious damage. So, um, yeah, I just wanted to share that. Thanks for listening.